The biggest thing you gave me was time.
I've always been a proponent of do the job, do it well.
When you're a family, everyone in the family has to be treated with respect.
I couldn't have done this without you. Coming here to K-State, you've been my confidant and in the room with me.
I want to know who you really are, right? You can put whatever you want on paper, but that doesn't really matter.
His teachers, they meet the learner wherever he is.
They don't care what you know.
They know how much you care.
Be aggressive. Let's win. Here we go.
Without any further ado, what I like to do is I like for you to talk to us about your journey from being a big time student athlete, right? Track student athlete to working in a multitude of athletic departments, having great success there, and then now being the leader of the NFL Trust. And don't be modest as we walk through this walk, right?
Well, first and foremost, Van, I appreciate you, and it's a pleasure to be with you here tonight and talk. Like, this is our conversation, so
that's right.
We're not going to make this about me, but I do appreciate the opportunity. It's been a great journey for me, both personally and professionally. I could just start by saying, but God, right? I think I'm not where I am without him, and I'm not where I am without standing on the shoulders of so many others that have paved the way for me to have had the work career that I've had. And if you talk about my time as an undergraduate at the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, as a student athlete there, great time, great great friends on our track teams there, and just throughout all of athletics. As you know, being on the college campus, student athletes, regardless of the sport, you just bond. And so we had a great community. And, when I think about the work that I've done over the years and the campuses that I've had the pleasure of being a part of, and then now at the Trust, all of that's really been about community. And so from being a track and field student athlete and competing at the highest levels there, and then being able to transition with my accounting degree into college athletics administration, first through the door of the business and finance realm, it's just been, I've been blessed with a great career.
And, let me rewind. Because I think we just got to do this at this moment. I have a few friends who are Alabama former players. They graduated from Alabama or they work at Alabama. They have anything. They rolled through the campus once. It's like when you say Alabama, it's like somebody pushes a button and they say,
Roll Tide.
So, okay, let's acknowledge that. And that's, that's big time. I've always admired people who they've had the opportunity to compete, like you said, compete at the highest level, but they stay in athletics because there's something that they gain as a student athlete, and they understand the importance of that. And they go into all these different fields, but they stay connected to, it's like it's an energy source for them, right? They stay connected to athletics. And being in athletics, which as a coach, and even talk about what we do as coaches, I think that in every realm, right, of athletics, but even outside athletics, there's core values. And here at K-State, we talk about discipline, we talk about commitment, we talk about being tough, and we talk about being selfless. Well, like I said, outside the realm of athletics, but most of the time people who have lived this athletic life, they walk into different arenas with core values. Sometimes those same ones connected as that they got as student athletes. What I would ask is, what are your core values? And as a leader, how do how do they go into your influencing others in making you the leader that you are?
Well, I think that, anyone in the professional realm should have core values as well as a mission statement, right? As we're trying to walk this journey, we're very similarly aligned with organizations and companies to really stand on solid footing, right? So for me, from a core value standpoint, mine are integrity, commitment, compassion, accountability, and humility. Those are very, important to me, and I've tried to lead in that way. I'm not going to always get it right, and one of the things that I had to do finally is show myself some grace, because leadership is very difficult, and leadership can be challenging, and no different than being human beings, we're going to make some mistakes. And so, as much as you want to ask forgiveness, as just a person, you also have to give yourself grace and learn from those mistakes. And so, I've tried to live by those particular core values, and it's very important, right? And so, when you talk about integrity first and foremost, that has to be the cornerstone of how you build relationships and how you interact with people. I think from a commitment standpoint, being committed to where you are. A lot of times, young people are, well, not just young people, but people are where they are, but they're also looking for the next opportunity. And how do you level set in a way where you have that commitment to the mission of where you are and to the community and the people that you're working with. I think has been important for me. And I think, from a compassion standpoint, compassion for people. We're all dealing with so many things. I dealt with my mom's illness, and trying to be there for her, and she and eventually passed away a couple of years ago. And so others are going through those sorts of things. And so how do you show, as a leader, compassion, and making sure that people have the space to take care of themselves, administer self-care, and mental health and wellness is so important. And then when you think about accountability, we can't forget about accountability. And we still have to be accountable, not just to ourselves, but to our teammates, to our colleagues. It's very important. And then for me, humility is also something, just a value that was taught by my grandfather, my grandmother, and my mom, and it's very important as well.
So let's talk about core values a little bit. When you say core values, and I actually we're not going to talk, but I do have an aside question that is directly connected to what you stand for, right? Tonight the NBA finals start, and so I just need to know who you riding with, what you're standing for. Are you standing for the Celtics, or are you standing for the Mavericks?
Well, my husband would laugh and say, I'm not a true fan because I wait until they're in the finals and pick a team. So, but with that said, I'm going to have to lean toward the Celtics because their director of mental health, Dr. Candace Williams, was a former program manager at the Trusts.
Okay.
So that's family. You got to go with family.
Right,
so
right. Yeah.
I'm going for Candace and the Celtics. That's how I'll say it.
That's a core value, right? Family. Well, being from Texas, I have to ride with the Mavericks. I do have a lot of Celtics connections, but I have to ride with the Mavericks because none of my family they wouldn't let me come to the family reunion if I didn't roll with the Mavericks team. So my next question is related to your, the people you've been around over the course of your career. Personally, I've had the great fortune to be around people like you, but people who have influenced my life in incredible ways and done a phenomenal job of leading people. And sometimes, like in the case of you, leading me without even knowing that they were leading, because people watch, right? And so my question is to you is who has been or who have been the leaders in your life, in your career, who have really influenced you, and what are a couple of things that they've given you?
You know, I've had some amazing leaders around me, right? And when I think about leadership, I don't always look up, I look around, and even people that have reported to me, because I believe you lead wherever it is that you are. And so I like to just be a lifelong learner and just learn from anyone and everyone, right? We all have had a leader that maybe we didn't align with. But even in that misalignment, there's a learning that's taking place. And even if that learning is, if I'm presented with those similar things, maybe I would do something differently, right?
Right.
And you get that. You know, you're a coordinator and the head coach may make a decision to throw the ball on 3rd and 3. And you've been watching the defense and it looks like the run is open, right?
Right.
But they may override the offensive coordinator and make the call, right? It doesn't make that person a bad leader. It's just that if you were in that similar situation based upon what you know and your experiences, right? I believe leaders do the best they can with the information that they know at the time that it is presented. And so for me, you know, I've had some amazing leaders back to even like Dave Maggard when I was at the University of Miami. Dave hired me, you know, tough as nails, learned a lot. And so for me, early in my career, you know, he allowed me, a Black female, to be tough and not apologize for it, right? And when I say tough, it just being very assured of yourself, having your back. You know, I think anytime you can be in a situation where you know a leader has your back, that's important. Um, Lou Perkins at KU was, I thought, an extraordinary leader as well. Um, Bill Self, I think, is an extraordinary leader. So when you talk about learning, again, not just people that I reported to, but people that I interacted, had an opportunity to interact with as well. Um, the people that influenced me the most, I would say, was at a young age. I happened to have an opportunity to be on the board of directors of the Black Coaches Association. And so those leaders were, you know, John Thompson, George Raveling, John Chaney, and Nolan Richardson. And to be in a room with them and just listen and see how they came together for a cause and to advance a mission of trying to see more people of color in head jobs, not just in basketball, but in football. You know, I was in my 20s, late 20s, early 30s, and I'm in the room being able to just listen to how they strategize and how they lead. And so those lessons taught me so much. And I'm very appreciative of that opportunity.
Yeah, those were legends of any
Yeah.
game, legends of the game. So when you talk about making and you being in your role, you've had the opportunity to bring people onto your team. I like to call it bring people onto your bus. So when you think about bringing people into your organization, bringing people onto your team, people who want to work to you, work with you, I think that's an important decision. What I would like to know is how do you identify people who you might want to bring on to your team, onto your bus, and what are the things that you look for when you want to, when you're thinking of people that you might want to hire in different roles on your team?
Yeah, I think each role may have a different makeup. And so I think the role is important. But overall, you look for someone that has great energy. I think that can show itself. a person that has demonstrated that they're a collaborator and a team builder, and someone that's really into the mission of the organization and can resonate with it. And then obviously, you've got the skills, but then I think the other big piece, the job skills, but the other big piece is the soft skills. And so I think the soft skills are something that's very important right now in the workplace.
I I like to, I don't like to call myself old. I like to call myself seasoned, right? I'm
Little
and,
paprika, you got a
yeah,
little paprika going on
right,
over
right.
there.
No, I'm smoked paprika, smoked paprika. Uh, but but in this place, I deal with a lot of younger coaches. I deal with a lot of younger people in this profession, and I've grown to understand that my place now is to pass on some of the knowledge that I have, and I take great responsibility in that. What I would ask you is how do you how do you how do you communicate, and what kind of things do you communicate to younger people on your staff, and how do you develop the younger people on your staff who may aspire to one day, walk in the shoes that you walk in?
Yeah, I think development is evolving. I think it's a continuum. And, what you did yesterday, you might need to do something differently, 3 months from now. I think being sort of participatory in meetings is important. Um, being knowledgeable about the work that you do, and just really being an expert in that arena. And the confidence piece, I think, is very important. And how do you help coach people to be very confident in who they are? And some of that's just trial and error, right? It's just seeing the hole open and going through the whole. I mean, I think my staff sometimes they laugh because I'm a big analogy person, and so I'm always talking using some sort of a football or
Yeah,
sports analogy in
yeah,
some
you
way.
talk about
And
running
so,
a power in this camp.
yeah. Don't tiptoe through the hole. You see the hole, get through it. Let's
Yeah,
go.
run through the smoke. Tell him to run through the smoke. So, being a track athlete, we're talking about these analogies, like football, like being a former football player, playing back in the days when we had no face mask, you know what I mean? It was just a leather helmet. Um,
You did not play back in the day with a leather helmet.
that's what my kids and my players tell me. All right, they tell me, hey man, coach, you couldn't have played in this game we played today. And I tell them, you know what, man, I got one play. And I'm not going to waste that play on you, because one day one of my favorite teams may make it to the Super Bowl, and they may call me out of retirement and they need me to play that one play in the Super Bowl. So I'm not going to waste it on you, right? So speaking of these games and this game day, as a track athlete, the track meet, back when you were throwing the discus, right? That was a like you got fired up on that day, right? You've been practicing, right? And you got yourself to that moment, all the things that your coach took you through, and now it's that moment, right? And I know you're getting goosebumps because you're thinking about it, right? Because everybody in the stands were yelling, "Roll Tide!" But what I want to know is today. Like, what is your game day today? What is that thing that gives you that goosebump feeling as if you were rolling into the arena about to perform as a track and field athlete? What is your game day today in your role?
That's a great question. And I haven't necessarily thought about that in that way. I would say the work that we do at the trust, any day, every day, where we can engage with the former player at, whether it's them taking advantage of the brain and body and going to one of our partners there, whether it's, looking for a new career opportunity and touching base with one of our program managers, or whether it's coming to an event that we're putting on. And so for me, that sort of, adrenaline excitement is whenever we are interacting with former players and making them aware of their benefits that they've earned and having them take advantage of it.
And see, people in this world that we live in, people would underestimate that, right? People would, you would say, well, Coach Malone, you're out there and the ESPN cameras and all those things are rolling. But no, man, there are places in our society, in our world, there are careers just like yours where that is so important. As a former player, I understand what great benefits the trust that are out there. But if I don't know, right, if people like you are not committed to educating me, people are not committed to bringing those resources to me and bringing me to those resources, I don't take advantage of them. And so when I had that question and when I posed it to you, I'm thinking, I know that answer. It's bringing the trust to me. It's pushing me to the trust. And sometimes, yeah, you have to push us to the trust, because we just don't take advantage of the great resources. And so I tell you, though, for a lot of former players that we appreciate your work.
No, that's very kind. And I got to give a shout out to the team. I think the team at the Trust, they're very passionate about the work. And it's because of them that we've made the strides that we've made over the last 10 years. And so big kudos to them and
Yes.
the team.
Yes, for sure. This is my final question, because I know we both got to get somewhere, right? We got to go make some things happen.
And cheer for the Celtics.
Yeah, I was going to say that. But so the young Kelly, like Kelly Mehrtens, you had to talk to that young lady, because she was fiery, right? She was competitive, she was tough, right? But if you could go back and talk to her, right, about some things that could help her navigate this life a little bit easier, because some of the stuff she did and the way she reacted to things, she could have done it. It could have been so much easier. So if you could talk to her, what would you say to that young lady?
Gosh.
Girl, sit down here.
I would say, stay connected. I think, we just live in a space and time where people can not be connected. And whether if you want to learn and grow, make sure you're connected continuously to someone either you're emulating, someone that can pour into you, and definitely not, be someone that's sucking something out of someone, but you're allowing them to pour into you, allowing them to replenish and maybe pour more. I think, when I think about my younger self, I did have those opportunities to lean in and hear from legends and leaders. And I wish I had leaned in even more and been more intentional about creating those more deeper, longer lasting sorts of relationships on both sides.
And I think that's advice we could all, grow from, because you only get one opportunity. We like to say that as coaches, you only get one opportunity to make a first impression, but you only get one opportunity, like you said, to build what we would call real relationships. And some of those, when you do, they last longer, and they last longer. I would say they last longer than you think. And it's always, especially in this business, it's always good to have people talking in rooms when you're not there about you
Yes.
in positive ways. And so I think, yes, that's incredible advice. Well, Kelly, I appreciate your time. Like I said, this is a quick conversation and a meaningful conversation for us. This moment that we've had doing this podcast has been unbelievable for having an opportunity to share with people from leaders like yourself. To have people come up to me and say, "Coach, I checked out your podcast." Okay, and I really learned something. Oh, okay. That's been a cool deal for me, because like I said before, my arm was twisted. I was pushed and shoved and kicking and screaming. I just dove into this, and it's been like unbelievable to have the opportunity to share with people, share with leaders from NFL head coaches to presidents of universities to all kinds of ADs and people in the sports world, actually people outside the sports world. So I appreciate you for giving us your time. And I'm sure that someone will grow from this experience just as I have. But I've been hanging around you for many years, and I've learned quite a bit over the years. And so I appreciate you. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you. And likewise, I've learned so much from you as well, Coach Malone. And I am still in your corner with pom poms, with the voice, because I think that there is a university that is missing out without you being the head coach at their place. And so, as a former player, as a longtime coach, as a guy that has impacted so many lives and so many young men's lives, I applaud you in the work that you're doing, and I would just encourage you to keep the faith, and I know you will, and keep your head up because your time will surely come.
It
It's
definitely
well
will.
deserved.
I appreciate that. It definitely will. I think God has time. God has a time, and it's not always the same time. It's not on the same schedule that we have, and I appreciate that. I understand that. My job is to keep pedaling the bike, right, not to steer it.
Mm.
So thank you, and
All right.
you have a good night, Kelly.
All right, you too. Appreciate you.